Welcome back, and, also strap in, because it turns out that Refund pledge was not what many people thought it was, and seemingly in response to the situation, Sony have went absolutely nuclear on CD Projekt Red. And, oh dear, because the same group that made Cyberpunk is also pulling a game from their store because of Winnie the Pooh being offensive to a certain world leader. I wonder if you can guess. Also, though, there is potentially some good Mass Effect news and a bit of Ubisoft being Ubisoft. Lots to cover today, and real talk, one of the stories here, I wonder which, is going to get us probably slapped with that particular yellow icon. So if you would like to support content like what we do and also get some sweet loot, hit up the Patreon. More on that later. For now, let's go. Cyberpunk 2077 refunds originally seemed to be a clear thing. If there's a problem, hit up your storefront. If digital, your physical store. If physical, and if all else fails, CD Projekt Red themselves. CD Projekt Red's post detailed all of this. They even set up a email address that was helpmerefund@cdprojectred.com, and that implied that they would take care of it if all else failed. Now, it turned out all that email did was palm people off to Sony and Microsoft who, were very much not playing ball at first. And the whole situation has gone extremely south since. Sony have went full scorched earth, right? They are now offering refunds to all users who bought Cyberpunk on the PS Store. Like, without question, they're just offering refunds. And they have actually removed the game from the store. It's gone. And to explain how serious this is, Life of Black Tiger, the literal worst ever PS4 game that basically doesn't work, it still can be purchased. Cyberpunk can't. Now, they could have just issued a warning for PS4 users saying that only PS5 users could expect an optimal experience, but instead, with seemingly nothing that they could work out with CDPR, Sony just nuked it from their store. And it's hard to overstate how furious Sony must have been to have went this hard, because this is unprecedented in modern gaming. Pulling a third-party AAA, unprecedented. And if you want to understand why, well, we don't literally know, but I would say, as it turns out, telling your customers that Sony would handle refunds without actually okaying it with Sony first, it seems that might have been a particularly bad move for Cyberpunk to have made. I mean, imagine for a moment being Sony here, right? You've got a third party working on one of the biggest games of the year. The game is constantly delayed. You give it the okay based on a combination of safe builds, promises from the devs, and professional trust. As CD Projekt Red said themselves, Sony and Microsoft were likely hoping the game would be fixed up. And then the game releases 6 months after the first delay, and even with the day one patch, it's so full of bugs and runs so poorly that, your console is considered a laughingstock, right? CD Projekt Red have a lot to answer for there, and I imagine their partners are, furious. I would not be surprised if Microsoft follows suit here, actually. With the likes of EA, these companies will run some defense, and they'll try to smooth things over. I mean, Anthem was reportedly taking consoles out, and Anthem was still up on the store. This time, though, CD Projekt Red may have made one of the largest mistakes we have seen in the industry, because yes, neither Fallout 76 nor Anthem were pulled from the store, and allegedly bricking consoles. Whew. And I should really just make it clear here that with Sony, and to be fair, I do not like Sony's refund policy, but it basically says that a game can't actually be played for the refunds to go through. So whenever CDPR said to go to Sony, I mean, there was no way it would have fallen under Sony's refund scheme, right? So they were literally asking Sony to make an exception. And it turns out Sony did make an exception. Just not the one that Cyberpunk 2077's devs really would have wanted. Well, not the devs, I'd say the suits. Have to imagine the devs have been screaming that this was not an okay thing to release for quite some time. Now, all of this is also not that CD Projekt Red seemingly had any intent to help people in the first place, at least not right away, because their SVP of Business Development said that any thoughts of CDPR doing refunds were in fact misconceptions. Yeah, like he literally said that. So it seems like if you read that big yellow post and thought, oh, wow, Cyberpunk or CD Projekt Red, they're going to offer a refund if all else fails. No, their senior vice president of business development says that that's a misconception. So they really do seem to have just passed the buck to Sony and Microsoft, and it seems like they are now paying for that gambit in an effort to placate rightly furious customers and even business partners. They just told more and more lies, and now they've been caught out. Sony will eat the cost of this one on the chin right now, but CD Projekt Red are going to have a massive amount to answer for, financially and professionally, and you know what, rightly so. Their management, I'm going to just say it, they were clearly scumbags hiding beneath the veneer of being a beloved company that consumers liked, right? Clearly. I mean, just look at what their SVP of Business Development said. Look at the state at which they put that game out. Right? Even though, and there's a lot of people say, oh wow, how can you couldn't even expect the game to run well on a PS4, it's a 2013 console. Yeah, you can say that. Cool opinion, my dude, but, the head, I believe the studio head, 14 days before this game came out on current gen consoles, said that the game ran surprisingly well on current gen consoles. That's a quote. So even if you say that people are stupid for expecting that Cyberpunk 2077 should have ran well on the PS4, well, you know what? The people actually making the game and selling the game told people it was surprisingly good in the PS4, and then they released it the way that they did. So your argument's basically dead. As I've said, principles are important, and I think calling CD Projekt Red out on their BS is a pretty good test of principles. Because if we're all willing to be how we are to the Ubisofts and the EAs and the Bethesdas of the world, we've got to be just as fair with Cyberpunk 2077 and the company that makes it. Wow. So, quite something. And hey, remember that loot that I mentioned? Well, this month we've got a lot of loot. We have got all of the art and the sticker and the Death Knight class pin. And of course on Patreon, which the link is down below, you'll also get behind the scenes. I'm currently working on our behind the scenes videos that basically give you a look at how we're rebuilding our org. Of course, there's also the daily briefing where basically we give you the daily news in a nice convenient package. So all good stuff. Your support has been absolutely incredible. And with that said, it's time for another sad story, and likely one that will get this video demonetized maybe. We'll have to see. Cyberpunk 2077 isn't the only thing that that particular group are being blasted for, because the other side of CDP Group have also shot themselves in the foot, and oddly enough, they've blamed gamers for it. So, remember Devotion, right? That horror game made by Red Candle Games, a Taiwanese indie dev. It was released on Steam back in 2019. It was swiftly review bombed and was removed because it accidentally included a joke at the expense of, the president of China. Yes, apparently, a Winnie the Pooh joke is a valid reason to get a game pulled from Steam. Interesting. Now, even the game's publishers cut ties with Red Candle soon after that, and, lost their license to operate anyway. So, it was a pretty bad thing for them. It's been absent from stores since, despite apparently being a really excellently good horror game. Well, just this month, it rose from obscurity when Red Candle and GOG, good old games, I think they now do stylize themselves as GOG though, announced that it would be available on December 18th. Big win for everyone, right? Red Candle get to sell a great game, and we get to buy it. And from GOG, no less, right? An excellent store with GOG Galaxy 2.0, an excellent client, and those cool boys from Poland who make that, those cool games that we like. Wow. Oh, okay, so we're all happy. Well, cue, CD Projekt Red doing their thing in their corner, and now cue CDP Group shooting themselves humongously in the foot, because just a few hours after the announcement, GOG announced that, and I quote, after receiving many messages from gamers, they were cancelling the release. Yep, CD Projekt instantly kowtowed to particular interests and engaged in literal political censorship. That's not the kind of thing we really would have thought that lot would do, especially since, you know, they're making Cyberpunk. Let's think about that genre for a second. It's worth noting that if GOG did receive messages from angry gamers, well, we can't see any of them. If it's anything like the backlash that happened on Steam, I think we know roughly what region the backlash came from. There was no visible backlash, though, on GOG's forums or on Twitter, which really actually means that no, actually it probably wasn't any form of gamer that told GOG that. It was almost certainly something made by business interests. I mean, the Chinese market obviously is the next big one, right? Just in terms of number of people playing video games, China's absolutely humongous. There are loads of people over in China who love their video games. So your reputation can lock you out of billions and billions of dollars there. So are you going to let one little indie game be sacrificed at the altar of those future profits? Well, in this case, for GOG, yeah, that's what they did. And keep in mind, this isn't even a danger of GOG having hosted a politically charged bit of game content, because guess what? The offending assets in the game were removed in 2019. So this game, as now presented, literally has none of the things that got it in hot water. So it now being pulled is literal, it's literal influence from over there saying that this game cannot be released in the West. And now we do not get this game on any store. They literally have the power to crush an indie dev that they've just decided is a black mark. Of course, it's an indie dev who is proudly Taiwanese, so not that surprising from the political establishment over there. This completely undermines GOG's operation, right? I mean, previously, we've been more than happy to sing GOG's praises, you know. Their PR guy hooked us up with, Galaxy 2 and an account and all of that stuff, and we had a good time with GOG and whatever, and generally people liked him. They were the only big store to offer DRM-free games, right? That's really good. We like that. And no, at the end of the day, all of the hard work of the developers, and I'm sure the fantastic intentions of, I would say, all the people who are at CD Projekt Red and are, places like GOG, is just being undercut by suits, completely destroying their reputation. And yeah, this does go to Adam Badowski and what's he called, the other one, Owinski, right? It goes right to those guys, right to the people who, are sort of public, these great pro gamer faces that, they might do all that, but then look at all of this stuff that's happened. Look, I'm not going to pull punches here. The people at the top have got to take responsibility for the things that go on in their company. And I mean, this whole GOG situation is even just so absurd because they literally promised the release of this game and then had to go back on it within a few hours. At no point, by the way, talking with Red Candle, did they stop to think about any of this, it seems. So clearly, no one at GOG who usually has a say in a decision, is responsible for this. So I would say that the GOG team were like, cool, let's get this game over here. Fantastic. And we'll be the only store that's got it. Won't that be good? It's very clear that then something from very high up came down and said, no boys, you don't get to have that. These mysterious gamers have popped up and said we cannot sell the game. How absolutely absurd. And I guess I should mention that at least one other developer is taking a bit of a stand against GOG. So Skatebird was originally destined to release on GOG, but Glassbottom have pulled plans to sell it as a direct result of their message that undercut a fellow indie dev, and they have asked GOG to remove the game, their existing game, from the store. Red Candle have already responded, saying they understand and respect GOG's decision. Hopefully, some store is able to host Devotion and allow Red Candle to actually make money from their hard work and have their art be available from, around the world. There are places you can find the game if you look hard enough. It's just not on sale. If you were to find it via one of those means, at least check out their Red Candle's other games. You can buy Detention and Steam for $12. I don't know, at this stage, they may as well just release in a torrent tracker and open a donation page because they're just being taken out by every storefront under the sun. So to summarize and put this extremely clearly, between the Cyberpunk lies, their lies, and the Devotion censorship, CD Projekt have, well, they spent a very long time being very pro-gamer and, all of that stuff, but no, they've made it very clear what gamers they care about. They feed us platitudes about refunds, right? They all lies, honey, sweet talk, but it all turns out to be hollow, because at the end of the day, when their bottom line is being risked, and they maybe see their stock dipping about the place, they're obviously more than willing to just go against the things that people historically like them for. And that makes them a pack of scumbags. I hope, for the sake of their staff, who are almost certainly not scumbags, that, I don't know, things change. Maybe a few heads roll in the C-suite. Something's got to change, though, because it's not good. And next, in our decidedly scummy episode of the Roundup, Ubisoft have added XP boosts into Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Yes, the boost was decried when it shipped with the extremely grindy Odyssey on launch, and the lack of it was praised for the launch of Valhalla. So yes, now that many copies of the game have been sold, Ubisoft have put the boost back into Valhalla. Awesome! The boost costs $10, it's a 50% XP boost, and just like with the prior game, there's also a 50% money boost and a bundle to get them both at once. And, I think the response from Ubi to Game Informer kind of tells you what's up. They essentially said that utilities like the XP boost are there for players who want the option to advance progression, now that more and more endgame content is coming out. So it's the regular old argument of time savers, which is obviously a load of bull, and if you defend that, I'm just literally stupid, because it just gives developers a financial incentive to pad out progression, right? It creates an incentive problem, and ultimately money talks to the companies like this. Just look at Odyssey and how that was. Valhalla did not have the grind of Odyssey, but I do think we can work out what's going on here. Odyssey did very well through its many, many, many updates. I think that Ubisoft have realized that XP boosts out of the gate are not ideal, but that can be a part of their model for the endgame live service life of the game, so I would expect to see more grindy stuff pop up in the game, and for Valhalla to very much take the single-player live service game experiment of Odyssey and really run with it. Well, so that I don't toss myself out the window, I do have some good news, hopefully. BioWare have been actually rehiring a bunch of Mass Effect veterans as development of Mass Effect 4 ramps up. Now, we don't know, where that game is in the overall process, but leaks suggest it began in 2019, and that probably means that until right now, or at least for the vast majority of 2020, the game would have been in pre-production, and that would mean that seeing vets return in 2020 would make a lot of sense, right? Because pre-production is like when you build, for lack of a better phrase, like the founding team of your game. So far, this includes their principal narrative designer, creative director, and art director of past Mass Effect games, and a 20-year vet actually rejoined to produce the Mass Effect Legendary Edition. So, pretty good. Now, that's not people who just happen to be working in this in their new roles. This is people who, worked on Mass Effect in the past at a senior level and have rejoined BioWare to work on it. Taken in isolation, this does sound good, right? Mass Effect Andromeda was a bit of a B-team situation. It literally was not being done by the core Edmonton group. It was done by a newer, less experienced team in another BioWare studio. That said, not that the A-team at Edmonton did particularly well, because, Anthem. But still, the thing then is, we do remember, Casey Hudson and Mark Dara just left, so it could seem a bit strange. But, if this is just a case of Casey and Mark, feeling like they've done their job, and maybe wanting fresh pastures, maybe they want to found a studio together or something, then maybe it would make sense. It would be pretty run-of-the-mill. Right now, it's impossible to say, and there is just this little bit of me that's just thinking, you know what, I really like Mass Effect, I would like this one to be good, so let's hope it's really good, because more Mass Effect would be nice. What a tiring episode of the news. Fun to record, but I'm kind of glad it's over. We'll have to see what happens next, because if the last few hours of video game news, as, I sit here recording this for anything to go by, tomorrow could be quite a wild day. Okay, that's it for me. If you would like to support our team and what we do, you can check out the various things that we do over on Patreon. And with that said, I will see you next time.